They called her broken, but the wolf pup saw her as salvation. The marketplace buzzed with afternoon commerce, wolves bartering furs, meat, herbs. Mira moved through crowds like water around stones, unnoticed despite her size, or perhaps because of it. The Silverwood pack had perfected the art of looking through her, past her, anywhere but at her. She'd grown accustomed to invisibility. At 24, she carried weight the pack deemed unacceptable for an Omega. Worse, scars traced her arms and neck, remnants of the fire that had killed her parents when she was 12. The pack had saved her body, but written off her future. No wolf wanted a mate who reminded them of tragedy and failed to meet their aesthetic standards. Mira told herself she didn't care. Told herself the ache in her chest when couples passed was just indigestion. Told herself a lot of lies to make surviving easier. The whimper stopped her mid-step. Soft, desperate, coming from the alley between the butcher's stall and the tanner's workshop. Mira glanced around. No one paid attention. She slipped into shadow and found him. A wolf pup, maybe 3 months old, tangled in discarded fishing net, silver-gray fur matted with blood, one leg bent at an unnatural angle, eyes, brilliant amber, fixed on her with intelligence beyond his months. "Oh, little one," she whispered, kneeling despite the mud. "Who did this to you?" The pup whined, struggling weakly. The net had silver threading, deliberate trap, not accident. Someone had caught him and left him to die slowly. Mira's hands moved with practiced efficiency. She'd been healing small creatures since childhood, the only magic she possessed. Minor, unremarkable, but real. Her fingers glowed faint gold as she touched the net, dissolving the silver threads carefully. They burned her palms, but she didn't stop. When the pup was free, she examined his leg. Broken, but not shattered, healable with time and care. "I'm taking you home," she decided. "You'll complain about my cooking and probably chew my furniture, but you'll live." She bundled him in her shawl, tucking him against her chest. He was surprisingly heavy, larger than normal pups. His breathing steadied against her heartbeat. As she stood, a shadow fell across the alley entrance. "That's the Alpha King's son." Mira froze. The voice belonged to Garrett, the pack's head enforcer, a wolf who'd made his disdain for her abundantly clear over the years. "What?" she managed. "The pup. He's royalty. Went missing 3 days ago from the northern stronghold. There's a bounty for his return. 10,000 silver. Garrett's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Hand him over. He's hurt. He needs medical attention first. He'll get it after I collect the reward." Garrett stepped forward. "Give him to me, Mira. This isn't your concern." The pup growled, tiny, fierce, his small body tensed against her. Something clicked in Mira's mind. The net with silver threading, the deliberate nature of the trap, the fact that Garrett appeared moments after she found him. "You set the trap," she said quietly. "You kidnapped him and left him to die. Then you'd find him and claim the reward for his safe return." Garrett's expression hardened. "Prove it." "The net dissolved at my touch. My magic leaves residue that identifies who cast the binding spell. This one has your signature woven through it. I can feel it." She held the pup tighter. "You're not getting him. You fat, scarred little nothing." Garrett's voice dropped to lethal quiet. "Do you really think you can stop me?" "I think I can scream loud enough that the marketplace hears. I think the Alpha King will be very interested in why his son was trapped in silver within your spell range. I think—" Garrett moved faster than she anticipated, hand closing on her throat, slamming her against the alley wall. The pup yelped, tumbling from her arms. Pain exploded across Mira's scarred neck. Her vision blurred. She clawed at Garrett's hand uselessly. He was stronger, always stronger. "You should have stayed invisible," he hissed. "Should have kept your mouth shut like always." The pup's growl intensified. Then came a sound Mira had never heard, a howl that started young but finished ancient, carrying power that shook stone beneath their feet. Garrett released her, stumbling backward. "What the—" The air changed. Temperature dropped. Every wolf in the marketplace went silent simultaneously, heads turning toward the alley. Then he appeared. The Alpha King stepped into the alley entrance, and Mira understood why wolves spoke his name in whispers. He stood 7 feet tall, built like violence carved from marble. Dark hair fell past his shoulders. His eyes, the same brilliant amber as the pup, held fury that made Garrett drop to his knees. "My son called," the king said, voice resonant as thunder. "Explain why he called from inside your pack's territory, enforcer. Explain why he's wounded. Explain why a civilian is bleeding while you stand over her." Garrett opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The king walked past him like he was furniture, kneeling beside Mira. She was still gasping, hand pressed to her bruised throat. "You're hurt," he stated. Not a question, observation delivered with unexpected gentleness. "I'm fine," she rasped. "The pup, your son, check him first." Amber eyes studied her face. Something flickered in their depths. Surprise, maybe. Recognition of something he hadn't expected to find. He turned to the pup, who limped over immediately, whining. The king examined the broken leg with careful hands, then looked at the dissolved net scattered on the ground. "Silver trap," he said, premeditated. "And this." He touched the residue, magic responding to magic. His expression went absolutely cold. "Enforcer Garrett's signature. Interesting." "My king, I can explain," Garrett started. "Silence." The word cracked like a whip. "You kidnapped my son, trapped him in silver, left him to die or suffer until you could stage a convenient rescue." The king stood, and the temperature dropped further. "Do you know what we do to those who harm royal blood?" Garrett's face went gray. "Please," Mira found her voice. "He didn't succeed. Your son is alive because—" She stopped, unsure why she was defending Garrett. "Because you found him," the king finished, looking at her. "You, who are—" "No one. I'm no one, my king. Just Mira. I heal small things sometimes. I heard him crying and I—" She gestured helplessly. "I couldn't leave him." The pup chose that moment to limp to her, pressing against her leg despite his injury. The king watched this with an expression Mira couldn't decipher. "My son doesn't trust easily," he said. "He was traumatized as an infant, lost his mother to assassins. He hasn't allowed anyone close except my inner circle since." He paused. "Yet he's chosen you. He's hurt and scared. He'd choose anyone kind right now." "No, he wouldn't." The king extended his hand. "Stand, please." Mira took it, surprised by the warmth of his skin. He pulled her up effortlessly, then steadied her when she swayed. "What happened to your throat?" he asked, though they both knew the answer. "I fell," she lied automatically. Lying about abuse was habit. The pack had taught her early that reporting problems made you the problem. "You fell onto enforcer-shaped hands. I see." He turned back to Garrett. "You're stripped of rank. You'll be tried at the northern stronghold within the week. If my son's injuries prove more severe than they appear, you'll face execution." Garrett's protests cut off when 2 massive wolves materialized from the marketplace crowd, royal guards responding to their king's presence. "Take him," the king ordered. "Gently. He still deserves trial." As Garrett was dragged away, the king focused entirely on Mira and his son. "I need to take him home. His leg requires setting properly, and he's been without food or water for days." He hesitated, and Mira realized with shock that the Alpha King looked uncertain. "Would you? He's bonded to you. Separating you might cause him additional trauma. Would you consider accompanying us? Just until he's stable. I'll compensate you generously." Mira stared. You want me to come to the northern stronghold? I want my son to have the best chance at recovery. Right now, that appears to be you. The pup whined agreement, looking between them with surprising intelligence. I don't. I'm not trained in royal protocol. I'd embarrass you. I doubt that. The king's expression softened almost imperceptibly. What I see is a woman who risked confrontation with a dangerous wolf to save a child, who dissolved Silver with her own pain to free him, who tried to defend her attacker when she could have let justice take its natural course. You have more honor than most of my court. Mira's throat tightened with emotion she couldn't name. When had anyone last spoken to her this way, acknowledged her as more than the fat, scarred Omega everyone pitied? Okay, she whispered. I'll come. For him. For him, the king agreed. But the way he looked at her suggested the pup wasn't his only consideration. He lifted his son gently, cradling the pup against his chest. With his free hand, he gestured for Mira to walk beside him. They emerged from the alley into the marketplace. 500 wolves stopped everything, staring. Mira felt their shock, their judgment, their confusion. The fat Omega walking beside the Alpha King. The scarred nothing being treated like she mattered. She wanted to shrink, to disappear, to apologize for existing. Instead, she kept pace with the king, chin up, remembering the pup who'd seen her as salvation rather than shameful. Maybe, just maybe, he wasn't the only one who needed saving. The northern stronghold rose from mountainside like a crown of stone and defiance. Mira had seen it from distance her entire life, a fortress where power dwelled, untouchable and remote. She'd never imagined walking through its gates. The Alpha King's guards surrounded them in protective formation, but their eyes kept drifting to her with barely concealed curiosity. She understood. She didn't belong here. Everything about her screamed wrong. Her worn dress, her size, her scars. Her complete lack of grace navigating the massive corridors. The king noticed her discomfort. They're not judging you, he said quietly. They're trying to understand why my son trusts you when he trusts no one. Because he's young and scared. It's temporary. Perhaps. His tone suggested he believed otherwise. They reached the royal wing, chambers so opulent Mira feared touching anything. The king laid his son on a bed that could fit 6 wolves, then turned to the assembled healers, who'd appeared instantly. Fix his leg, carefully. If he resists, let him. No force, no restraints. The head healer, an elderly woman with silver-braided hair, approached the pup slowly. He growled, shrinking back. Easy, little prince, she soothed. We're here to help. The growling intensified. His amber eyes found Mira, pleading. May I? She asked the king. Please. Mira sat on the bed's edge, extending her hand. The pup immediately pressed against her, trembling. She stroked his fur, feeling the fear radiating from his small body. I know it hurts, she murmured. I know you're scared, but these wolves are good. They'll make the pain stop. Her hands glowed that soft gold. And I'll stay right here. I promise. The pup's trembling eased slightly. He licked her scarred wrist, a gesture of trust that made her chest ache. The head healer's eyes widened. May I examine your magic, miss? I've never seen that particular shade. It's nothing special. Minor healing, mostly useless. Useless? The healer looked incredulous. You're channeling pure life force. That's primal magic, the kind that existed before we learned to categorize and limit it. Most healers spend lifetimes trying to access even a fraction of what you're doing unconsciously. Mira blinked. I just make small things hurt less. Small things like dissolving silver nets that would burn through most wolves' hands. The king's voice held amusement. I noticed your palms earlier. They should be blistered. They're not. She looked at her hands. He was right. No burns, No damage. The pain had faded completely. I heal fast, she offered weakly. Clearly. The healer turned to the king. With her assistance, I can set the prince's leg with minimal trauma. What followed was a delicate procedure. Mira held the pup, channeling her magic to dull his pain while the healer worked. He whimpered but didn't fight. Within an hour, his leg was set, splinted, and wrapped. He'll need to rest for 3 weeks, the healer reported. No shifting, minimal movement. The break was clean. He'll heal completely with proper care. The king's relief was palpable. Thank you, all of you. As the healers departed, the pup curled in Mira's lap despite his splint, falling asleep almost immediately. She stroked his fur, marveling at the softness. He hasn't slept peacefully in days, the king said quietly. I've been searching everywhere when I felt his howl. His jaw tightened. That kind of fear from a child, no parent should feel that. You're a good father, Mira said before thinking. He looked at her with surprise. You've known me 3 hours. I've known you long enough to see you prioritize his comfort over protocol, long enough to watch you choose his healing over your need for vengeance. That's enough. Vengeance will come. Garrett will face justice. I know, but you're making sure your son is safe first. That's what matters. They sat in companionable silence. Outside the windows, sunset painted mountains gold and crimson. The pup's breathing evened into peaceful rhythm. Finally, the king spoke. I should introduce myself properly. I'm Adrian. Adrian Blackthorn, Alpha King of the Northern Territories, and about 17 other titles I don't use unless required. Mira. Just Mira. No titles, no pack standing, no importance whatsoever. I doubt that. He studied her face with unsettling intensity. Why do you diminish yourself? I'm not diminishing. I'm being accurate. You saved my son. That makes you important. Anyone would have done the same. But anyone didn't. You did. Adrian moved closer, sitting on the bed's opposite side. The pup slept between them, a small bridge of fur and trust. Tell me about your healing magic. How long have you had it? Since childhood, after the fire. She touched her scarred neck unconsciously. My parents died. I survived, but I was burned badly. The pack healers saved me, but I was in agony for months. Eventually, I started, I don't know, pulling the pain out somehow, making it distant. The healers said I was delusional, that pain doesn't work that way. But it worked for me. And then I practiced on small things, birds with broken wings, rabbits caught in traps, the pack's children when they scraped knees, nothing impressive, just easing suffering where I could. That's not nothing, that's profound. Mira shrugged, uncomfortable with praise. Most wolves see it as proof I'm weak, can't fight, can't hunt, can barely shift without exhausting myself. All I can do is make things hurt less. Making things hurt less is revolutionary in a world built on dominance and pain. Adrian's expression turned thoughtful. The pack that raised you, Silverwood, they treated you poorly. Not a question, statement. They kept me alive. That's more than many would do. That's the absolute minimum requirement for not being monsters. It doesn't deserve praise. They're not bad wolves, just, I remind them of tragedy. The fire killed 8 families. My survival feels like cosmic mockery to some. Why did the weak Omega live when strong warriors died? That's not how survival works. Strength isn't always physical. Tell that to the wolves who decide pack hierarchy. Adrian was quiet for a moment. Then, you're not planning to return, are you? Mira's hand stilled in the pup's fur. What? To Silverwood. You agreed to come here until he's stable. But you're not planning on going back even then. How did he know? She barely admitted it to herself. I don't know, she said carefully. I haven't thought that far ahead. Liar. The word was soft, not accusatory. You're a decent liar. But I've been reading people for 2 decades. You have no intention of returning to a place that made you feel worthless. Tears burned unexpectedly. She blinked them back. I don't have anywhere else to go. You have here, if you want it. She looked up sharply. Why would you offer that? Because my son needs you. Because you possess magic my healers don't fully understand. Because... He hesitated, and Mira realized the Alpha King was choosing his words carefully. Because strength recognizes strength, even when it wears unexpected forms. I'm not strong. I'm fat, scarred, and useless in combat. You dissolved silver with your bare hands. You stood up to an enforcer twice your size. You healed my son when he trusted no one else. That's not weakness. Adrian's voice dropped lower. And your size, your scars, they're just body. They tell me you survived something that killed others. They tell me you've endured and kept your kindness intact. That's the rarest strength of all. Mira couldn't speak. Her throat closed with emotions she had no names for. Adrian stood, moving toward the door. There are guest chambers prepared. My guards will show you. Rest tonight. Tomorrow we'll discuss terms of employment if you're interested in staying. Employment? Royal healer specializing in trauma and primal magic. The position doesn't officially exist yet, but I'll create it. Generous salary, private quarters, full access to the royal library and gardens. He paused at the threshold. And my eternal gratitude for saving my son's life. I don't want gratitude or payment. Then what do you want? The question hung in the air. What did she want? She'd spent so long surviving that wanting felt like foreign concept. I want to not be invisible, she whispered finally. I want to matter. Not because of what I can do for others, but just because I exist. Adrian's expression shifted into something Mira couldn't read. You already matter. You just haven't been around wolves capable of seeing it. He left before she could respond. A guard appeared moments later, a female wolf with kind eyes who introduced herself as Sarah. I'll show you to your chambers, miss. The king ordered the suite in the east wing. Best view in the stronghold. Mira followed in a daze. The chambers were enormous, appointed with luxuries she'd only seen from distance. A bed that could fit 10. Windows overlooking mountain vistas. A bathing room with a tub large enough to swim in. This is too much, she protested. This is the king's will, Sarah said gently. He wants you comfortable. Is there anything you need? Food, clothing? The king mentioned your dress was damaged in the marketplace incident. Mira looked down. She hadn't noticed the tears and bloodstains from Garrett's attack. I don't. I've never had anything custom made. Then we'll start, Sarah smiled. I'll send the tailors in the morning. For tonight, I'll bring comfortable sleeping clothes and a meal. You must be exhausted. She was. Bone-deep tired from adrenaline crash and emotional upheaval. After Sarah left, Mira drew a bath, sinking into water hot enough to sting. She studied her reflection in the polished silver mirror. Soft body society deemed wrong, scars that mapped her history, face that had never launched ships or inspired poetry. But tonight, for the first time in years, she didn't look at herself with shame. She looked with curiosity. Who was she becoming in this place? Who might she be if given space to grow? The water cooled before she found answers. She dressed in the silk sleeping clothes Sarah had provided, obscenely comfortable, and climbed into the enormous bed. Sleep should have come instantly. Instead, she stared at the ceiling, replaying the day. The pup's amber eyes finding her in the alley. Adrian's hands, gentle despite their obvious strength. His words, "You already matter." Tomorrow would bring complications. Questions about why she was here. Judgment from wolves who thought she didn't belong. But tonight, she let herself imagine a different future. One where she wasn't invisible. One where mattering wasn't conditional. one where a fat, scarred Omega could save a prince and walk beside a king without apologizing for existing. And for the first time in 12 years, Mira smiled as she fell asleep. Morning arrived with soft knocking. Mira woke disoriented, momentarily forgetting where she was, until she saw the mountain vista through her windows. The northern stronghold. She was in the northern stronghold. Yesterday hadn't been a dream. "Miss Mira?" Sarah's voice came through the door. "May I enter?" "Yes, of course." The guard carried a tray laden with breakfast, more food than Mira typically ate in 2 days. Fresh bread, honey, fruit, cheeses, smoked meat. "The king requests your presence when you're ready," Sarah said, setting the tray down. "The prince has been asking for you." "Well, not asking exactly. He can't speak yet, but he's been whining and refusing to let anyone near him." Guilt stabbed Mira's chest. "Is he okay?" "Physically, yes. Emotionally, he wants his new favorite person." Mira ate quickly, then let Sarah guide her back to the royal wing. Adrian stood outside his son's chambers, looking exhausted. "Rough night?" Mira asked. "He woke every hour. Wouldn't settle unless I sang. I have many skills. Singing isn't one of them." Adrian's expression lightened when he saw her. "Thank the goddess. Maybe you'll have better luck." Inside, the pup lay on the bed, whining pitifully. When Mira entered, he perked up immediately, tail attempting to wag despite the splint. "Hello, little one," she said softly, sitting beside him. "Did you miss me?" The pup licked her hand enthusiastically. Adrian watched from the doorway. "He wouldn't eat this morning. The healers are concerned." "May I try?" "Please." Mira took the bowl of prepared meat and held it close to the pup. "I know you're scared. I know everything's strange, but you need to eat to heal properly." She channeled her magic gently, letting warmth flow from her hands. The pup's anxiety visibly decreased. After a moment, he began eating tentatively, then with more enthusiasm. "How did you do that?" Adrian asked, amazed. "I don't know. It just feels right." When the pup finished eating, he curled in Mira's lap again, content. She stroked his fur absently, humming a melody her mother had sung when she was small. Adrian sat across from them. "I have a proposition," I assumed, given the guest chambers. "Stay, not just until he heals, permanently, as royal healer, as my son's caretaker, as—" He paused. "As whatever you want to be. You have magic we need. More than that, you have a gift for healing trauma. My son hasn't trusted anyone since his mother died. In one day, he's bonded to you completely. That's not coincidence. It's because I was there when he was vulnerable. No, it's because you see him as a child who needs comfort, not a prince who needs protocol. You treat him like he matters beyond his title." Adrian's amber eyes held intensity that made her breath catch. "I need someone like that. He needs someone like that." "I'm not qualified. You're the most qualified person I've met. Training can be learned. Genuine care cannot." He leaned forward. "Name your price. Anything reasonable or unreasonable, and I'll make it happen." Mira's mind spun. What did she want? Safety? Yes. Purpose? Certainly. But beneath those practical needs lurked something deeper. "I want to not be ashamed," she said quietly. "In Silverwood, my size was failure. My scars were weakness. My magic was proof of inadequacy. I want to be somewhere that doesn't measure my worth by how well I fit their narrow standards. Done. Anyone who comments negatively on your appearance answers to me personally. Your magic will be celebrated, not dismissed. Your scars are evidence of survival, which we honor here." Adrian's expression softened. "What else?" "I want to learn. Real healing, not just instinctive comfort. I want access to teachers, books, training. The Royal Library is yours. I'll assign our best healers as mentors. Anything else? I want." She hesitated. This one felt dangerous. I want to matter, not because I'm useful, but because I'm human. I want to be seen. You're already seen, Mira, at least by me. The weight of his gaze made her dizzy. This was the Alpha King, powerful beyond measure, handsome in ways that made Omegas compose poetry. Why would he look at her like she was something precious? Why? She whispered. Why are you being so kind? Because you saved my son. Because you possess magic I've only read about in ancient texts. Because... He stopped himself. Because this pack needs healing as much as my son does. And I think you might be exactly what we've been missing. A knock interrupted. Sarah entered, looking apologetic. My king, the council is demanding an update on the enforcer situation. Adrian's jaw tightened. Tell them I'll address them after midday meal. They're quite insistent. Then they can insist louder. My son and his healer take priority. After Sarah left, Adrian stood. I need to handle political matters. Will you stay with him? I'll have meals sent, anything you need. Of course. He moved toward the door, then paused. Mira, thank you for everything. When he left, the chambers felt colder despite the fire. The pup whined softly. Mira resumed stroking his fur, thinking about Adrian's offer. Stay permanently. Become part of the stronghold. Build a life here. But could she trust it? Kindness felt foreign after years of dismissal. What if this was temporary? What if once the pup healed, she'd be discarded again? The day passed quietly. Healers came to check the pup's leg, marveling at his improved condition. Sarah brought lunch and dinner, chatting about stronghold life. The pup slept mostly, waking only to eat and receive affection. Evening arrived with Adrian's return. He looked exhausted, frustration evident in every line of his body. The council? Mira asked. Wants Garrett executed immediately without trial. They claim kidnapping, royal blood demands instant death. He sat heavily. I'm refusing. He deserves trial, evidence presentation, chance to defend himself, even though we both know he's guilty. Why give him that courtesy? Because the moment I execute without due process, I become a tyrant. Mercy isn't weakness. It's the foundation of just leadership. He looked at her. You understand that, don't you? You tried to defend him even after he attacked you. I didn't want violence on my conscience. Exactly, that's rare. Most wolves default to vengeance. They sat in comfortable silence. The pup slept between them, small chest rising and falling peacefully. He needs a name, Adrian said suddenly. I've been calling him son or prince, but he should have his own identity. What about Ash? Mira suggested. Silver gray like his fur, strong but gentle. Adrian tested the name silently. Ash, I like it. Ash Blackthorn, Prince of the Northern Territories. He smiled. Thank you. For what? For seeing him, for seeing me, for being here when we both needed you. Mira's throat tightened with emotion. I'm not special, Adrian. I'm just someone who couldn't walk away. That's what makes you special. Most people can walk away. Choose to. You couldn't, even when it was dangerous. He reached across Ash's sleeping form, taking her hand gently. I know you're afraid to trust this. Afraid I'll change my mind once the crisis passes. I won't. I swear on my son's life. You have a place here as long as you want it. Why does this feel too good to be real? Because you're accustomed to cruelty disguised as normal. Kindness feels suspicious when cruelty was your baseline. His thumb traced circles on her scarred wrist. But this is real. I'm real. And I'm not going anywhere. The touch sent electricity through her. She pulled back gently, overwhelmed. I need time, she said, to process everything, to believe this isn't temporary. Take all the time you need. I'm patient. He stood to leave, then paused at the door. Mira, one more thing. The council wants to meet you officially tomorrow. They're curious about the wolf who saved my son. They'll be disappointed. I'm not impressive. You're extraordinary. They'll see it eventually. After he left, Mira stared at her hand where he'd touched her. The warmth lingered, along with questions she didn't dare ask aloud. What if he saw her as more than a healer? What if that look in his eyes meant something deeper? What if a fat, scarred Omega could matter to an Alpha King in ways that had nothing to do with duty? She pushed the thoughts away. Too dangerous. Too impossible. But as she fell asleep beside Ash, her dreams painted pictures of amber eyes and gentle hands, and a future where mattering wasn't conditional. And now, I invite you to leave a trace of your presence in the comments. Tell us where in the world you're watching from and the exact hour you hear this story. We wish to know how far these northern confessions travel and at what moments of the night they find you. The council chamber intimidated by design. Circular stone room with tiers of seating rising toward a domed ceiling painted with constellation maps. 12 council members sat in judgment positions, their combined gazes heavy as physical weight. Mira stood at the chamber's center with Adrian beside her and Sarah behind. Ash remained in the royal chambers with healers, much to his vocal dismay. "Council," Adrian began, voice resonating with authority. "I present Mira of Silverwood Pack, the wolf who saved my son's life and uncovered Enforcer Garrett's treachery." A council member stood, elderly male with scars crossing his muzzle. "We're grateful for the prince's safe return. However, questions remain about the circumstances." "Ask them," Adrian said calmly. "The enforcer claims he found the prince already trapped, that he was attempting rescue when this woman accused him falsely." Mira felt judgment in the pause before woman. Her size, her scars, they saw them, weighed her, found her wanting. "That's a lie," she said clearly. "The silver net carried his magical signature. I have primal magic. I can sense spellwork origins. He created the trap." "Primal magic?" Another council member, female, sharp-eyed. "That's a child's fairy tale. No one has possessed true primal magic in centuries." "I can demonstrate," Mira offered. Adrian nodded permission. Mira extended her hand, calling her magic forward. Gold light pooled in her palm, then transformed, becoming shapes, images, memories pulled from the net's residue. They watched Garrett weaving the trap 3 days prior, hiding it in the alley, checking it repeatedly. The council went silent. "Compelling," the elderly male admitted. "But why would an enforcer risk everything to kidnap a prince?" "For the bounty reward," Adrian said. 10,000 silver for safe return. He planned to find Ash after sufficient suffering made the rescue dramatic. Instead, Mira found him first. "So she claims. So the evidence proves." Adrian's voice dropped dangerously. "Are you suggesting I doubt my own magical analysis? Or Mira's testimony?" "We suggest caution, my king. This Omega appears from nowhere, conveniently finds your son, and suddenly possesses position and privilege in your household. It seems convenient." Mira felt the accusation like a slap. They thought she engineered this, that she'd somehow manipulated circumstances for personal gain. Enough. Adrian's word cracked through the chamber. "Mira saved my son at personal risk. She dissolved silver with her bare hands, a feat that should have crippled her. She stood against an enforcer twice her size. She healed Ash when he trusted no one else. If you interpret those actions as manipulation, you need better judgment." "With respect, my king," the sharp-eyed female said carefully, "your son has bonded strongly to this woman. That bond clouds your perception. We merely want to ensure that I'm not being manipulated by a fat, scarred Omega who couldn't possibly have value beyond her supposed magic." Adrian's fury was ice, not fire. "Say what you mean, Counselor Vera." Vera paled. "I didn't. You did. All of you did. You looked at Mira and saw someone who doesn't fit your aesthetic standards, someone who couldn't possibly merit my attention without ulterior motives. He moved to stand beside Mira, presence protective. Let me clarify something. Mira possesses primal magic I've only read about. She healed my son when our best healers couldn't comfort him. She shows mercy even to those who harm her. Those qualities make her more valuable than half this council combined. Silence descended, heavy and tense. Finally, the elderly male spoke. What position will she hold, my king? Royal healer specializing in trauma and primal magic, with full council voting rights on matters pertaining to health and welfare. Several council members gasped. Voting rights meant true power, not ceremonial position. That's unprecedented for someone with no pack standing, Vera protested. Then I'm setting precedent. Any objections? No one spoke. Adrian's authority was absolute. They could advise but not overrule. Good. Meeting adjourned. Mira, with me. He led her from the chamber, not stopping until they reached a private balcony overlooking the training grounds. Wolves sparred below, their shouts carrying on mountain wind. I'm sorry, Adrian said immediately. That was worse than I anticipated. I should have prepared you better. They're not wrong to be suspicious. This is all very sudden. They're completely wrong. Their suspicion stems from prejudice, not reason. He turned to face her. Mira, look at me. She did. His amber eyes burned with intensity that made breathing difficult. I didn't give you that position because Ash bonded to you. I gave it because you earned it, because this pack needs what you offer, genuine care, primal magic, perspective beyond violence and dominance. He stepped closer. And because I see you, not your size, not your scars, you, the woman who makes impossible things possible. You don't know me well enough to say that. I know you saved my son, stood up to an enforcer, showed mercy when vengeance would have been easier. That tells me everything important. But, Mira, he took her hands gently, I know you're terrified of trusting this. Terrified I'll wake up and realize I've made a mistake. I won't. This pack has needed someone like you for years. We just didn't know it. Someone fat and scarred. Someone compassionate and powerful. The rest is just body, irrelevant to your actual worth. Tears threatened. She blinked them back. No one's ever said that before. Then no one's been paying attention. His thumbs traced circles on her scarred wrists. Give this a chance. Give us a chance. Let me prove that kindness isn't temporary. Movement below caught her attention. Ash had escaped the healer's splinted leg and all, and was searching the courtyard frantically. He's looking for you, Adrian said, amused. They descended quickly. Ash's relief at finding Mira was immediate and dramatic. He tried to jump, forgot his injury, and nearly face-planted before she caught him. Careful, little one, she scolded gently. You'll undo all the healing work. He whined apology, pressing against her. He's supposed to be resting, the head healer said, arriving breathless. He shifted and bolted the moment we turned our backs. He's stubborn, Adrian agreed, like his father. They returned to the royal chambers. Ash refused to settle unless Mira sat beside him, so she found herself spending another afternoon with the pup, reading from the library books Sarah brought. Histories of the Northern Territories, magical theory texts, healing manuals. Adrian joined them when he could, handling correspondence while Ash slept. The domesticity felt surreal. A week ago, Mira had been invisible in Silverwood. Now she read in the Alpha King's private chambers while his son used her lap as a pillow. You're good with him, Adrian observed. He's easy to love. Not for most people. He's been difficult since his mother died. Understandably so, but you? He set aside his papers. You don't treat him like a burden or a political asset. You just see a child who needs comfort. That's what he is. Yes, but most people forget that. Adrian moved closer. Can I ask something personal? I suppose. Why haven't you asked about his mother? Most people are curious about the tragic history. Because it's his trauma, not my entertainment. If you want to tell me, I'll listen. If you don't, that's fine too. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Her name was Lissa. She was brilliant, fierce, compassionate in ways I'm still learning to emulate. We were true mates, recognized each other instantly. His voice carried old pain. Assassins targeted her when Ash was 6 months old. They wanted to destabilize my rule by eliminating my heir before he could grow strong. She fought them off long enough for guards to arrive. But she was wounded. Silver blades poisoned her blood. She died within hours. I'm so sorry. Ash doesn't remember her consciously, but he knows she's gone, knows he was traumatized young. It's why he struggles with trust. Adrian looked at Mira. Until you. Something about you bypasses his defenses completely. Maybe because I don't have an agenda. I just want him to feel safe. That's exactly why it works. Adrian's hand found hers again. That same electric connection sparked. You make both of us feel safe. The moment stretched, charged with possibility. Mira felt herself leaning closer, despite every logical reason not to. Then Ash woke with a yelp, nightmare dragging him from sleep. She pulled back, focusing on comforting the distressed pup, but Adrian's words echoed. You make both of us feel safe. Did he mean? No, impossible. Alpha Kings didn't fall for fat, scarred Omegas. This was gratitude, not attraction, wasn't it? Later, after Ash settled and Adrian left to handle evening duties, Mira stared at her reflection in the polished silver mirror. She saw soft curves society deemed wrong, saw scars mapping her history, saw a face that had never inspired sonnets. But for the first time, she also saw something else. Strength in survival, beauty in resilience. Worth that had nothing to do with meeting narrow standards. Maybe Adrian was right. Maybe she'd just been surrounded by wolves too blind to see it. The thought terrified and exhilarated in equal measure. What if she let herself believe? What if she let herself hope? What if, for once in her life, she allowed herself to matter? Tomorrow would bring more council challenges, more suspicious stares, more wolves questioning her presence. But tonight, she let herself imagine a future where belonging wasn't conditional, where a fat, scarred Omega could stand beside an Alpha King and not apologize for existing. The image felt impossible, which meant perhaps it was exactly the kind of miracle the goddess specialized in. 3 weeks transformed everything. Ash's leg healed rapidly under Mira's care, combined with the head healer's expertise. He grew stronger daily, his trust in her absolute. More surprising was the pack's gradual acceptance. Wolves who'd initially dismissed her began seeking her counsel. A warrior with nightmares from battle, an elder struggling with chronic pain, a young mother whose infant wouldn't stop crying. Mira helped them all, her primal magic and genuine compassion creating results traditional healing couldn't match. The council remained skeptical, but couldn't argue with outcomes. Even Vera grudgingly acknowledged Mira's value after watching her calm a traumatized child no one else could reach. Adrian noticed everything. He watched her work with quiet intensity, observed how she moved through the stronghold with growing confidence. Their private moments multiplied, shared meals while Ash napped, conversations in the library that stretched past midnight, walks through mountain gardens as seasons shifted toward spring. And through it all, the tension built. The careful distance Adrian maintained felt increasingly deliberate. His hands would find reasons to touch hers, helping her with books, steadying her on icy paths, demonstrating combat forms when she expressed curiosity. Each touch lingered longer than necessary. Mira told herself she was imagining things. Alpha Kings didn't want Omegas like her. This was friendship, mentorship, gratitude, nothing more. Then came the night that shattered her denial. She was in the library, studying advanced healing texts, when Adrian entered alone. No Ash, no guards, no witnesses. "You're up late," he observed. "This text on trauma bonding is fascinating. It explains why Ash connected to me so quickly. My own trauma created resonance he recognized." "You reduce yourself to trauma response. That's inaccurate." Adrian sat beside her, close enough that his warmth radiated. "Ash bonded to you because you're safe, because you see him without agenda. That's not trauma, that's character. Or both. Fair." He was quiet for a moment. "Mira, I need to tell you something." Her heart stuttered. "Okay. I've been struggling, trying to maintain appropriate boundaries, trying to let you settle without pressure." He turned to face her fully. "I'm failing spectacularly." "What do you mean?" "I mean, every time you laugh, I want to hear it again. Every time you heal someone, I fall deeper into admiration. Every time you're gentle with my son, I imagine what you'd be like with more children. With our children." The world stopped. "Adrian, I know this is impossible. You're packless, scarred, not the type of Omega anyone expects an Alpha King to choose. I know the council would riot. I know politically this makes no sense." His amber eyes burned. "But I don't care. I see you, Mira. Not what you look like, who you are. And who you are is magnificent." Tears spilled before she could stop them. "You can't mean this." "I've never meant anything more." He took her hands. "I'm not asking you to be my mate. That's a choice that requires time, certainty, soul-deep recognition. I'm just asking, can I court you? Properly, publicly, with full intent to see where this leads? The council can advise all they want. They don't choose my heart." His thumbs wiped her tears. "I want you, Mira. Your kindness, your strength, your magic, your laugh. All of you. Exactly as you are. I'm fat. I'm scarred. I'm perfect." The word was fierce. "You're perfect because you survived fire and emerged with compassion intact. Because you're soft in a world that worships hard edges. Because you make my son feel safe and me feel human. But..." He kissed her, gentle at first, questioning, giving her space to pull away. She didn't. She leaned in, and the kiss deepened, became something that rewrote every assumption about her worth. When they separated, both were breathing hard. That was... Mira couldn't finish. "Everything I've wanted for weeks." Adrian rested his forehead against hers. "Tell me I didn't misread this. Tell me you feel even a fraction of what I do. I feel terrified and hopeful and certain this can't be real. It's real. I promise you, this is real. What if I disappoint you? What if once the novelty wears off, you realize that I want you more? That's the only realistic outcome." His hands framed her face. "Mira, I've had true mate bond. I know what soul-deep connection feels like. This isn't that. Not yet. But it could become something equally profound if we give it time. The pack won't accept me as their Luna. They'll learn, or they'll leave. I'm not negotiating on this. Adrian, no, listen." His voice dropped to absolute certainty. "I spent years believing power meant control, that strength meant dominance. Then I met you. You showed me power can be gentle, strength can be compassionate. You changed everything I thought I knew about leadership, about life, about what matters. I saved your son. Gratitude isn't love." "You're right. But this isn't gratitude. This is me recognizing my match. The woman who makes me want to be better without making me feel inadequate. Who sees my flaws and doesn't flinch, who treats my son like he's precious and my position like it's irrelevant." He pulled back enough to meet her eyes. "I'm falling for you, hard and fast and completely. Fight me on this if you want. I'll court you anyway. Tell me I'm crazy. I'll prove I'm right. Walk away. I'll wait. But don't tell me this isn't real, because it's the realest thing I've felt in years. Mira's defenses crumbled. Years of believing she wasn't enough, wasn't worthy, wasn't beautiful. All of it dissolved under his fierce certainty. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. How to let someone see me completely. Then we learned together. No rush, no pressure, just possibility. She nodded, unable to speak. Adrian stood, pulling her up gently. It's late, you should rest. Where's Ash? Sleeping in the royal nursery. I thought we needed time without a chaperone. Planning ahead, hoping. There's a difference. He walked her to her chambers, stopping at the threshold. Can I kiss you again? You have to ask? Always. Consent isn't negotiable, even between alpha kings and their potential lunas. This kiss was different, slower, deeper, full of promise rather than desperation. When they separated, Mira's entire body hummed. Good night, Mira. Good night, Adrian. She closed the door, leaned against it, and let herself feel everything she'd been suppressing for weeks. Hope, terror, desire, possibility. An alpha king wanted her, not despite her size or scars, but including them, seeing all of her and choosing her anyway. She touched her lips, still feeling the warmth of his kiss. Tomorrow would bring complications. The council would object. Wolves would gossip. Reality would intrude. But tonight, she let herself believe in miracles. Adrian announced their courtship 3 days later during a formal pack gathering. The reaction was exactly what Mira expected: shock, whispers, barely concealed judgment. The Alpha King courts the fat Omega, she heard someone mutter. Adrian's response was swift. The Alpha King courts a woman of extraordinary power and character. Anyone who reduces her to physical appearance will answer to me personally. The pack fell silent. Over the following weeks, Adrian proved his commitment publicly and constantly. He walked beside her through the stronghold, hand in hers, brought her to council meetings as equal counsel, introduced her to neighboring alphas as his chosen partner. Mira struggled with visibility. Years of invisibility had been armor. Being seen felt like standing naked in winter. But Adrian's steady presence anchored her. Ash helped too. The pup, now fully healed and energetic, claimed Mira as his second parent openly. He'd sleep between them during family evenings, refuse to train unless she watched, introduce her to visitors as my Mira. The title stuck. Soon, wolves throughout the stronghold called her that, the King's Mira, said with varying degrees of acceptance. Garrett's trial arrived. Evidence was overwhelming. Magical signatures, witness testimony, Mira's primal magic revealing his intentions. The council voted execution. Adrian offered mercy instead. Permanent exile with tracking spell. If he returns or harms anyone, the execution stands. But I won't become a king who kills without giving chances at redemption. The pack grumbled, but accepted. Garrett left broken, stripped of everything. Mira watched him go and felt only sadness, for opportunities wasted, for corruption choosing him. You're too forgiving, Vera said later. No, Adrian corrected. She's exactly forgiving enough. That's why she'll be an exceptional Luna. The word hung in air. Luna. Not potential, not maybe, certain future. Mira found Adrian that night on their balcony. You told Vera I'd be Luna. Eventually, if you choose it. The pack still doubts me. Some do. Others are learning what I already know, that leadership isn't about meeting aesthetic standards. It's about character, wisdom, and compassion. You possess all three. He pulled her close. But I won't pressure you. This is your choice, always. She kissed him instead of answering. Let her lips communicate what words couldn't. Yes, despite fear. Yes, despite doubt. Yes, because he made her believe in futures she'd thought impossible. Their relationship deepened. Stolen kisses in the library, walks through winter gardens where he explained pack history. evenings with Ash between them, building a family from broken pieces. The council gradually shifted. Not all, some remained hostile, but enough began seeing what Adrian saw. Mira's healing work produced undeniable results. Her counsel prevented conflicts. Her presence gentled the stronghold's harsh edges. "She's good for him," Ronan admitted to Vera during a meeting Mira accidentally overheard. "Haven't seen the king this balanced in years." "She's still inappropriate," Vera replied, but her tone carried less conviction. 3 months into their courtship, Adrian took Mira to the place it all started, the Silverwood Marketplace alley where she'd found Ash. "Why here?" she asked. "Because this is where our story began, where a fat, scarred Omega, your words, not mine, chose compassion over fear, where everything changed." He knelt and Mira's heart stopped. "I'm not asking you to be my mate yet. That bond forms when it forms, and I won't rush it. But I am asking you to be my Luna, my partner in leadership, my chosen companion. Will you accept?" She pulled him up, laughing through tears. "You're ridiculous, kneeling in mud. Is that a yes?" "It's a yes. To all of it. Luna, partner, companion, everything." He spun her, laughing, and for the first time in her life, Mira felt weightless. Subscribe if you believe mercy can crown even the fallen. The Luna ceremony required 3 months of preparation. Pack traditions, political alliances, ceremonial details that made Mira's head spin. Adrian handled most logistics, but she had to learn protocols, memorize histories, prepare for the reality of permanent visibility. The Stronghold tailors created her ceremonial dress, silver silk that accommodated her curves rather than fighting them, embroidered with gold thread that matched her healing magic. When she saw herself in the mirror, she barely recognized the woman staring back. "You look like a queen," Sarah said softly. "I look terrified." "That too, but mostly queenly." The night before the ceremony, Adrian found Mira in the library where it all began, where he'd first confessed his feelings. "Having second thoughts?" he asked. 10th thoughts, maybe 20th. She set down the protocol manual she'd been studying. "What if I fail? What if the pack never truly accepts me? Then we handle it together. But Mira, look at what you've already accomplished." He gestured around the stronghold, the healing center you established, the trauma protocols you developed, the way young Omegas now look at you with hope instead of resignation because you proved different bodies can hold power. "I didn't do that alone. No. But you started it. You showed them possibility." He took her hands. "Tomorrow, you'll become Luna officially, but you've been leading beside me for months. This is just making visible what already exists." "And if the mate bond never forms?" "Then we build our bond consciously, which some would argue is stronger. I love you, Mira, not because fate decided it, but because you're extraordinary. That's enough." The words settled something deep in her chest. "I love you too, even though you're ridiculously dramatic about showing it. I'm a king. Drama is mandatory." They spent the night together, not consummating, not yet, but holding each other, talking until dawn about futures and fears and everything between. The ceremony began at sunset. The entire pack gathered in the great amphitheater carved from mountainside. Mira walked the ceremonial path alone, as tradition required, aware of every stare, every whispered comment. But she also saw Ash at the front, bouncing excitedly, saw the young Omegas whose lives she'd changed watching with shining eyes, saw wolves she'd healed, families she'd counseled, children she'd comforted. She saw her impact, and it steadied her. Adrian waited at the center wearing his ceremonial armor. When she reached him, he spoke the ancient words, "Who claims Luna's mantle?" "Mira of no pack, who makes pack wherever compassion leads," she replied, using the phrasing they'd crafted together. "Why do you claim this title?" "To serve, to heal, to lead beside my king with mercy and strength combined. And do you accept the burdens this brings? The judgment, the scrutiny, the weight of thousands looking to you for guidance? She met his amber eyes. I accept, because burdens shared become bearable, and I won't carry them alone. Adrian smiled, fierce and proud. Then by my authority as Alpha King, and with the goddess as witness, I name you Luna Mira Blackthorn. May your reign bring healing to what war has broken. He placed the Luna's circlet on her head, silver woven with gold, designed specifically for her. Then he kissed her, and the pack howled approval, not unanimous. Some voices remained silent, but enough celebrated that the sound echoed off mountains. The feast that followed lasted until dawn. Wolves approached Mira with varying degrees of warmth, some genuine, some political. She navigated it all with Adrian's hand in hers and Ash glued to her side. You did beautifully, Adrian murmured during a quiet moment. I survived. There's a difference. Survival is beauty when the alternative was surrender. As celebration continued, Mira found herself on the balcony, watching the pack below. Sarah joined her. How does it feel? The guard asked. Terrifying, exhilarating, impossible. Mira touched the circlet. Like I'm pretending to be someone important and everyone's about to realize. Or like you've always been important and everyone's finally noticing. Sarah smiled. You saved the prince. Changed the stronghold's entire approach to healing. Showed the king what leadership rooted in compassion looks like. That's not pretending, Luna. That's reality. The title still felt foreign, but maybe that would fade with time. Adrian appeared, pulling her back to the celebration. Come, Ash wants to dance with his new mother. Mother, another title she hadn't expected. But as Ash grabbed her hands, laughing, spinning her through the crowd despite his lingering limp, Mira realized something profound. She'd spent years believing she needed to transform to matter, needed to become smaller, prettier, less scarred to deserve love. But Adrian chose her exactly as she was. Ash bonded to her without conditions. The pack was learning to follow her, not despite her differences, but because of them. She didn't need to transform. She just needed to believe she already mattered. The realization settled like sunrise, gradual, inevitable, illuminating everything. Luna responsibilities consumed Mira's days. Council meetings where she advocated for wolves, others dismissed. Establishing healing protocols throughout the Northern Territories. Training young Omegas in primal magic theory. Building alliances with neighboring packs who initially questioned her authority. Adrian remained constant support, but he also challenged her. You're letting the council override your instincts, he said after one contentious meeting. Stop seeking permission for things you know are right. I'm trying not to overstep. You can't overstep. You're Luna. Your word carries equal weight to mine. Learning to wield power felt foreign, but gradually Mira's confidence grew. When the council objected to funding expansion of healing centers, she overruled them. When traditional wolves protested her training young Omegas in combat alongside healing, she implemented the program anyway. Results proved her right. Healing centers reduced conflict by addressing trauma before it became violence. Combat-trained Omegas defended themselves, reducing abuse. The pack transformed under her influence. Not everyone approved. A faction led by an old warrior named Rorik openly questioned her authority. She's making us soft, he complained during public gathering. Wolves need strength, not therapy. Mira faced him directly. Strength without emotional intelligence is just brutality with better PR. We're building a pack where wolves can be strong and vulnerable, fierce and compassionate. If that's too complex for you, perhaps you should consider whether you fit here anymore. The pack went silent. No Luna had ever spoken to a senior warrior that way. Rorik snarled, You dare? She dares because she's right, Adrian interjected. Our old ways created cycles of trauma and violence. Luna Mira is breaking those cycles. Anyone who can't adapt is welcome to leave. Rorik left. So did a dozen others who preferred tradition over transformation. Let them go, Adrian said when Mira expressed concern. Wolves who need hierarchy maintained through suffering don't belong in what we're building. What they were building became clearer daily. A pack where omegas held power, where healing was valued equally with fighting, where different bodies and abilities were celebrated rather than judged. Neighboring packs noticed. Alphas visited, curious about the stronghold's transformation. Some mocked. The soft pack, led by a fat Luna. Others observed thoughtfully and implemented similar changes. 6 months into her reign, Mira received unexpected visitor, her former pack leader from Silverwood. Alpha Marcus looked older, wearier. He bowed formally, a gesture that shocked her. Luna Mira, I come seeking counsel. Why? She kept her tone neutral despite old wounds. Because what you're building works. Our pack is failing, young wolves leaving, conflicts increasing, healers overwhelmed. He met her eyes. I was wrong. About you, about everything. I'm asking. Will you help us? Adrian stood beside Mira, protective. That's her decision. She considered. Silverwood had made her invisible, had let her suffer. Part of her wanted to refuse, to let them fail as punishment. But that wasn't who she was. I'll send healers, she said finally, and training protocols. But I want something in return, full public acknowledgement that you were wrong to dismiss me, that my size and scars don't determine my worth. The young omegas in your pack deserve to hear that from their alpha. Marcus nodded. You have my word. Then you have my help. After he left, Adrian pulled her close. You're extraordinary. You know that? I'm just doing what's right. That's what makes you extraordinary. Most people can't separate revenge from justice. You do it naturally. That night, Mira found Ash in the nursery, playing with younger pups. At nearly a year old, he was already showing signs of his father's strength and her compassion. Mira! He bounded over. Watch! I healed this pup's scrape. Golden light glowed faintly around his paw. The younger pup's wound had indeed closed. You're developing primal magic, Mira breathed. That's rare in males. You taught me. You said anyone can heal if they care enough. She hugged him tight, overwhelmed. This pup who'd trusted her when he trusted no one was now teaching others her philosophy. Adrian appeared in the doorway, watching them. The look in his eyes made her heart stutter. What? She asked. Just this. You, Ash, the life we're building. It's everything I didn't know I needed. Later, alone in their chambers, Adrian grew serious. I need to tell you something. Mira's stomach tightened. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. That's what I need to say. He took her hands. I thought the mate bond mattered, that without it, what we have would feel incomplete. I was wrong. What we've built consciously, choosing each other daily, building trust through action, creating love through shared purpose, it's stronger than any bond fate could forge. Adrian, let me finish. I love you. Not because the goddess decided it, but because you're brave and compassionate, and you make me want to be better. I love that you challenge me, that you're changing this pack into something magnificent, that you see Ash as your son without hesitation. He kissed her forehead. I love you completely, and I wanted you to know that before I asked, will you mate with me? Not because tradition demands it, but because I want forever with you? Tears streamed down Mira's face. Yes, to forever, to mating, to all of it. Yes, the mating ceremony would wait for the full moon, 3 weeks away. But that night, they consummated their bond, and Mira finally understood what it meant to be chosen completely. Every scar, every curve, every part of herself she'd learned to hide. Adrian worshipped it all. and she finally believed she was enough. The mating ceremony under the full moon was intimate, just Pack inner circle and closest allies. Mira wore silver and gold, her curves draped in silk that Adrian had commissioned personally. The Luna's circlet caught moonlight, but she barely noticed. All she saw was Adrian. They spoke the ancient vows, shared blood beneath the goddess's gaze, and let the mate bond finally form. It snapped into place like puzzle pieces, creating connection deeper than any Mira had imagined. She felt his heartbeat as her own, his joy, his love, his absolute certainty that she was his match. And through the bond, he felt hers. When they kissed, sealing the bond, Ash howled, young, fierce, celebrating. The pack joined until mountains echoed with approval. Afterward, the celebration was quiet. Mira sat with Adrian and Ash watching the pack below, wolves who'd learned to accept her, to follow her, to believe in the future she represented. "What are you thinking?" Adrian asked. "That a year ago I was invisible. Now I'm Luna, mate, mother. It doesn't feel real." "It's real. You made it real by refusing to accept that invisibility was your fate." He pulled her closer. "You saved my son, changed my pack, showed me what true strength looks like. That's not luck. That's you choosing to matter even when the world said you didn't." Ash climbed into her lap, as he did every evening. "Tell the story again," he demanded, "about how you found me." Mira had told it countless times, but she never refused. Once upon a time, a fat, scarred Omega heard a wolf pup crying. As she spoke, she caught Adrian watching her with expression that still made her breathless. Love, admiration, desire, all woven together. Through the bond, she felt his thoughts. My miracle, my Luna, my everything. She sent back her own, my king, my choice, my home. When the story ended, Ash was asleep between them. Adrian lifted him gently, carrying him to the nursery, while Mira followed. "He'll be fine alone tonight?" she asked, watching Adrian tuck their son in. "He's gotten used to sleeping independently, though he'll probably join us by dawn." They returned to their chambers, officially shared now, decorated with both their belongings. Adrian pulled Mira close, and through the bond, she felt his desire spike. "I love you," he said simply. In case the bond didn't make it obvious. "I love you too, even though you're ridiculously dramatic about everything. I'm a king. It's required." He kissed her deeply. "Ready for forever?" "I've been ready since you first called me important, since you saw me when everyone else looked through me, since you chose me, scars and curves and all. Best choice I ever made." They made love slowly, tenderly, the bond amplifying every sensation until Mira forgot where she ended and Adrian began. Afterward, tangled together, she traced the scars on his chest, battle wounds from protecting his pack. "We're both scarred," she observed, "inside and out. Yes, and we're both healing, together." Through their windows, the full moon watched. In the nursery, Ash slept peacefully. Throughout the stronghold, the pack rested under leadership that valued compassion as much as strength. And in the chambers of the Alpha King and his Luna, two souls who'd found each other against all odds finally allowed themselves to believe in their own story. Mira had spent years believing she needed to transform to deserve love. That her body was wrong, her scars shameful, her existence apologetic. But Adrian taught her different. He chose her exactly as she was, saw her strength in survival, found her beautiful not despite her differences, but within them. She'd saved a wolf pup in an alley. In return, she'd found a family, a purpose, a kingdom. But most importantly, she'd found herself. The fat, scarred Omega who'd been invisible became the Luna who changed everything. Not by transforming herself, but by refusing to believe she needed transformation in the first place. As dawn broke over the mountains, Ash crept into their chambers, climbing into bed between them as predicted. Adrian groaned playfully while Mira laughed. Every night, Adrian muttered. Every night, Mira agreed, and I wouldn't change it. Through the bond, she felt his absolute agreement. This was their family, their pack, their future, built from broken pieces and impossible odds, exactly as the goddess intended. If your heart beat alongside ours, like, comment, and subscribe, because every soul that joins our moon keeps the flame of redemption alive.